So you've brought us a really interesting story today. It feels almost like a bit of a folk tale or a riddle.
It definitely has that vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at this situation with the king, right? Waiting around in his dark court.
Yeah, pacing, it sounds like. And he's clearly worked up because these two people, Bidrup and Bankum, haven't shown up.
Exactly. They were sent on this task, apparently, to find a Moyna bird.
Which sounds simple enough, but the sources say it's been a long time they've been searching.
Uh-huh. And their failure to return is making the king really anxious. It's more than just being late.
So our deep dive today is basically trying to figure out, well, first, where are Bidrup and Bankum?
And second, what's the deal with this strange encounter his soldiers have? There's this mysterious voice involved.
Right, and what does it all mean? So, okay, starting off, what grabs you about this whole setup?
Well, it's that contrast, isn't it? Finding a bird seems kind of trivial.
Yeah, hardly a state matter.
But the king's reaction is anything but trivial. He's deeply concerned. So either this Monyna is incredibly special.
Or Bidrup and Bankum are way more important than just bird catchers.
Exactly. Their role seems critical. And that detail about the court being dark, it sets a mood,
Yeah.
like something's wrong.
Definitely an uneasy feeling. And it ramps up pretty fast. The king doesn't just wait, he sends soldiers.
Right. He's worried enough to dispatch a search party.
And it's how they search that's weird, too. They end up talking to some mysterious entity. And they're really respectful about it.
Yeah, they explain they're looking for those two intelligent individuals, Bidrup and Bankum.
And they mention, again, how long they've been engaged in the work of finding a Moyna here. That detail keeps coming up.
It really does. It wasn't just a quick errand. The length of the task, the soldiers' deference, it all points to Bidrup and Bankum being, well, significant figures.
So their disappearance is a big deal. It disrupts something ongoing.
Precisely. And the fact that soldiers are asking this voice, it suggests, the normal ways of finding people aren't working. They're going off script.
And the answer they get back is, wow, just this disembodied voice saying, understood, I understand everything.
Chilling, right. And then it just drops this bomb. They have been insulted. Your king has made a huge mistake.
Huge mistake. And not just any mistake, one that will now bring ruin to the kingdom.
Talk about an escalation. From missing persons to kingdom-level catastrophe.
So what are we supposed to think here? Is this voice for real?
Well, it immediately connects their disappearance to the king, doesn't it? It says it's his fault.
Because he didn't listen to them, apparently, ignored their counsel.
Right, so this insult isn't just personal, it's framed as a major governmental blunder. The stakes are suddenly incredibly high.
Makes you wonder what advice they gave and why ignoring it would be that bad.
Exactly. What could possibly lead to ruin?
The soldiers naturally are freaked out. They ask, so, what do we do?
And the voice gives them this message for the king, but it's incomplete. It says, tell the king, and then just stops.
Ugh, talk about a cliffhanger. So frustrating. Leaves everyone hanging, the soldiers. Us, the king, eventually.
It's a classic suspense builder, isn't it? The voice is controlling the information, making everyone wait, emphasizing how vital this missing piece is.
Really manipulative. Makes you think, why not just tell the king directly? Why this roundabout way?
Good question. Maybe it wants to maximize the impact. Or maybe it can't talk to the king directly.
Then the voice hits them with another shocker. It claims Bidrup and Bankum haven't just wandered off.
No, they've actually left the kingdom.
And get this, the voice says it told them to leave.
Whoa. Okay, so the voice is actively involved in their departure.
The soldiers ask why, obviously. Can we know?
And the answer comes back to the insult again. They have been insulted. They are no ordinary individuals.
It even says insulting them means insulting the entire system, even insulting me.
Okay, so now Bidrup and Bankum are being positioned as, fundamental pillars of the kingdom.
Yeah, not just advisors anymore. Insulting them breaks the whole system, apparently. Even offends this voice.
It elevates them massively. And the voice claiming responsibility for their leaving. It sounds deliberate, calculated maybe, like a power play.
Trying to force the king's hand.
Perhaps. Make him realize what he's lost, or what he stands to lose.
Meanwhile, the king isn't just sitting around anymore. He's worried enough to go looking himself.
Right, he leads his own soldiers towards where Bidrup and Bankum live.
But the voice knows. It announces the soldiers are coming and says it has to leave because of the crowd.
Always one step ahead, it seems.
Yeah.
Operates outside the usual palace awareness.
And before vanishing, it gives one last warning, hammering the point home. Remember one thing. If they return, then the king must listen to them.
Again, what they're listening.
Otherwise, great harm will come. It's relentless about this point.
The repetition really underlines what the core issue is supposed to be, the king's failure to heed their advice previously.
So the king catches up, maybe hears the tail end of this, and confronts his soldiers. "Who are you talking to?" he demands.
And you just have to imagine the soldiers' faces when they answer this.
Right. They say, "Your Majesty, we were talking to the ghost of the Moyna."
The ghost of the Moyna bird they were supposed to be finding.
I mean, what? That comes completely out of left field.
It totally shifts everything, doesn't it? What started as maybe political intrigue or disgruntled employees.
Suddenly becomes this completely bizarre supernatural event, a talking bird ghost.
Yeah, a ghost with opinions on statecraft and the king's decisions. It opens up so many questions. Is it real? Is it a trick? What's going on?
The king is stunned, obviously, asks meaning like, "Explain this impossible thing you just said."
And the soldiers tell him the whole story of their spooky encounter.
After hearing all this, the king actually pauses, reflects, then he decides.
What does he say? Does he buy the ghost story?
Not entirely, it seems, but he says, "All right, you request that they return. If you can bring them back, then I will listen to them."
Ah, okay. So it's conditional. He's willing to play along maybe if it gets Bidrup and Bankum back?
Yeah, he's clearly impacted by the warning of great harm and his soldier's testimony, but maybe still a bit skeptical. Pragmatic.
He'll concede to the ghost's demands if it produces results. Interesting.
But then, the story pulls the rug out from under us one last time, after the king and soldiers leave.
Don't tell me.
Bidrup and Bankum climb out of a dark well. They were hiding inside it the whole time.
No way. So they heard everything.
Everything. They were right there, orchestrating or at least observing the whole thing unfold.
Wow. Okay, that changes everything again.
They even talk about how their plan seems to be working, wondering what the king will do next.
So the voice, the ghost, the warnings, all of it was them, a performance.
Apparently. And while the court's in turmoil, they just calmly eat some food and go to sleep in the well.
That's brilliant and incredibly audacious. So the supernatural angle was a complete fabrication.
A clever deception by these two. They weren't missing, they were manipulating.
That's the real kicker, isn't it? The aha moment. All that supernatural drama was just stagecraft, human ingenuity, not ghosts.
So, quick recap. Worried king, missing advisors, a mysterious voice predicting doom, claims they left because they were insulted.
Then the voice claims to be the ghost of the Moyna bird.
Only for us to find out Bidrup and Bankum were hiding in a well, pulling the strings all along.
Amazing. They essentially invented an authority figure, this ghost, that the king was more likely to listen to than them directly.
Which is pretty telling about the court dynamics, maybe.
Definitely. It exploited the king's fears, the soldiers' beliefs. Very clever.
So this leaves us, and you listening, with some big questions, doesn't it?
For sure. Like, what exactly was this insult? It must have been serious for them to go to such lengths.
Yeah, what drove them to create this incredibly elaborate, risky plan? What was their end game? Just an apology, or something bigger?
And what is it that they know? What's this wisdom or insight the kingdom supposedly needs, the thing the king wasn't listening to?
Do they possess some knowledge that's genuinely vital? Will the king actually listen this time, even after finding out he was tricked?
It really makes you think about power. How people without direct authority can try to influence those who have it.
And the power of belief itself. The soldiers believed in the ghost, and that belief had real consequences.
Absolutely. And maybe it says something about the kingdom itself, that such unconventional methods were needed just to be heard.
Definitely makes you wonder about the effectiveness of different strategies when the usual channels fail.
Yeah, lots to chew on there. The complexity of power, perception, and just how far people might go to make their voices count.